Authors aren't the only profession in the literary world. There's agents, publicists, editors, and illustrators. This morning, we're joined by David Szalay, who's a children's illustrator. So Dave, thanks so much for joining us. We'll start with our first question. What is it like being a children's illustrator, and how did you get into this career field?
It's actually a very fulfilling field to be in. I have been a graphic designer for about 35 years and have always done illustration along with my designs. About 10 years ago, I decided to change into focusing mostly on illustration. And children's books have always been kind of an interest of mine. Storytelling in general has been one of my biggest interests. And so I'm a college professor, and I had the opportunity to gamble a little bit with that side of my career, having a steady paycheck. So I leaned into illustrating children's books along with my commercial illustration.
And you've got a book right here for us. Is this one of the ones you've illustrated?
Yes, this is one that I've illustrated. The most recent one. I have a couple that I'm working on currently too. Okay. And yeah, this is about 2 years old now.
Okay. Why children's illustrations? What makes them better or more fun?
I would say the reason I leaned into children's illustration is because that's probably the reason I began as an artist in the first place. You know, I was always interested in stories, and ones that had pictures were the ones that I gravitated towards as a child, and that's probably why I started drawing in the first place. So after I'd raised my kids and certainly had my share of telling lots of stories to them, it felt like a real natural thing to experiment with, and it has taken off, and I've done really well with it.
And they're interactive, your illustrations for kids?
Yeah, they're interactive in a sense that when you're reading a story to a child, they participate in that storytelling. You know, they ask questions, and they are stimulated by the pictures that they see. So I guess being a good children's illustration or illustrator is it relies a little bit on you having a little understanding of how kids see the world, and you kind of illuminate that for them.
Perfect. And you also mentioned that you're a professor at Kent State.
The University of Akron.
Oh, University of Akron. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so your main focus is helping young writers and illustrators. So what courses do you teach there?
I teach classes that are geared towards narrative storytelling, so visual storytelling. And some of those things can be on the commercial side, so they can be more advertising or communications related, but also we do, storybooks, any graphic novels, anything that has to do with sequential images.
There's a number of ways that writers and creators can publish a book without big companies and signing on to big companies, becoming, New York Times bestsellers and stuff. So how did you stay in this industry, and how would you say that has changed the literary world?
It is very competitive, I'll tell you that. Being in Ohio, we have connections to the literary world, but really most of my work is coming out of New York City. So I have an agent that represents my children's book illustration, and she is based in Connecticut, so she's very close to the city. And the way that I get in front of publishers is really through the agent representation. Otherwise, yes, people can self-publish. There's lots of ways that you can get a book out there without relying on a big publisher, because sometimes that's a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I've been pretty lucky having that representation to open the doors for me.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us, showing us your illustrations. They are beautiful from the cover that I'm seeing right here on this book. We appreciate having you.
Okay, thank you.